Hey guys, so this is a bit new. I'm trying to do this up on my bay window so that you have a really good nice view from my new grow light. I apologise for my state. This is my I've been running around all day state. So I'm going to pot up my new cuttings. We've got a Gigas, someone let me know, and a gorgeous Gloriosum. So I'm going to pot them up in some moss. So I'm using these orchid pots. They're great because they've got lots of holes in, so they're really good to make sure that the roots have space to breathe and they don't get too rotty. I use them all the time with anthuriums. I just got these on Amazon. I think I got, how many did I get? 4, 5, 6? Yeah, 6. I'm using 2. Am I using 2? Yeah, using 2. So I got 6 of them for a really good price. I think they were like £7, so like £1 each, which obviously is more expensive than normal pots, but if it means you get saved from root rot, it's worth it. So let me get, they're a bit stiff. 2 ready. So I've got the cuttings here, so they're just in some bubble wrap. This is the Gigas cutting. It's got a new leaf, as you can see, which is why it's this gorgeous orangey colour. It hasn't hardened yet. I rinsed them earlier, just under some cold water, well, warm room temperature water, to make sure that there were no bugs on them, and there we are. They're very pretty. They travel very well considering the cold. They were put in with a heat pack and all kinds of other stuff. So they were sent to me in damp sphagnum, and there we go. There is the Gigas cutting. It's got some aerial roots on it, you can see, which will make our life a lot easier. And all I'm going to do is probably pot it in a smaller pot. I've actually got some baby ones of these, so not an orchid pot this time, but it does have holes in the bottom for the drainage, so it still will allow that airflow, because it's going to be on a flat surface, which will still allow some air to get to and from, but it's better size, which is quite important. We don't want to overwhelm the roots with loads of space, because it won't help them grow. So in here, I have my sphagnum moss. I wet a load at a time as I use it quite regularly, and then just keep it in a sealed bag so that it stays nice and moist and keeps the humidity up for it, so that keeps it nice and fluffy and happy and ready to use as well, because I can't be faffing around. The amount of times I've got moss stuck down my sink, and then I get shouted at because then it blocks the sink. So yeah, it's much safer for me and my parents if I keep some on hand and only do it once in a while, because I like living here for now, and I don't want that to be ruined by my moss habits. So I've just popped some moss in. It is already damp. It's not too damp because I don't want to obviously encourage rot, but I will probably spray it once I've set it in, and I'll show you what I do that with because it's slightly different. So I'm literally just popping the cutting in there. It's quite hard because it's quite a short cutting. How is the best way to do this? I'm gonna have to really pack it in to stop it falling out. I think I'm gonna have to bring it up higher. Mossing around the Christmas tree and a mossy blow. Okay, this is like near impossible. I might put it in I don't want to do that. I was going to say I might put it in a shot glass, but that's got no drainage and no air, so I don't really want to do that. Ideally, I want it... Aha! Have I got it this time? I'm going to have to be really careful because I don't want to move it around too much. But there it is in its moss, snugly in and in a pot. So what I'm going to do to make sure that the leaves don't drape on the ground, because that would be worst nightmare, because then it's going to go in my prop box, and if it's sort of there on the damp ground, then obviously we are going to get rotting leaves. So I'm going to sit it on top of a bigger pot in there just to raise it off the ground and give it some room to get rooting, and hopefully it'll be very happy. Then I'm going to show you how to be so careful with that. I am going to show you this baby, which is my Gloriosum. So once again, I'm going to do pretty much the same thing. I've already rinsed it off under some water, so just to make sure that we didn't have any nasties come with it. Just make sure that it gives it a nice chance. Plus, it was packed in paper, which is wonderful, shredded paper, but it did mean that it left some like paper fuzz on it, which is fine and much better than bug fuzz, but it's still not as Instagrammable. So I'm just going to unwrap this. So this is a top cutting, and look, oh my god, this is the first time I've seen this. We've got a new leaf on the way here as well, which is awesome, and by the looks of it, it's actually started rooting on its journey. Look at that. You can see the little baby rootlets. So hopefully this will mean it's quite an easy one. It does look like she's popped something on it. It might be Clonex, it might be an anti-bac, I'm not sure, but you can see the white on the bottom and the sides. So she's popped something on there. Don't know what it is, but it seems to be happy, so who cares? So I'm actually going to put this in one of the orchid pots. So I'm going to just shove in some of the moss it came in because it seemed perfectly happy in it. And I might as well shove in this moss as well. I mean, got to save that moss while we can, kids. And then I'm just going to pop it in the orchid pot, make a bit of a hole, and there we go. I don't want to bury the growth point too much, so I'm going to put a bit more moss in, but not too much because I don't want it to encourage any rot in the beautiful new growth point. And again, we just want to make sure that that leaf is standing nice and upright, because the last thing we want is anything terrible happening to that beautiful leaf, because it is literal perfection when it comes to Gloriosums. So I'm just packing some extra moss around it just to stand it upright and make sure it's nice and snug as a bug in a rug, as my mother used to say to me before bedtime. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. Standing nice and upright, so we're not going to get wet. And you can see there, the little growth point is poking out. So we shouldn't have any rot issues. Just pressing the moss around the growth point to make sure that it is not going to annoy it. And then my pièce de résistance. This is what I've been using on all of my sphagnum moss propagations and also my rescues. Now, I'm not usually one for like nifty little things that are quite expensive. This isn't the cheapest, it's like £9 a bottle or something, which for quite a small bottle isn't the best. But every time I've used it, especially when the plants have had root rot, it's fixed it. It has also made things root that just weren't rooting, and I am now obsessed with it. So I just spray the moss on top, just like you would water, but with this. And it's got some fertiliser in it, so it will help feed the little planties. We don't want too much, but just enough that it dampens down the moss a little bit. And under the leaf, we don't want to get the leaves wet on these guys because they don't like it. After I washed them earlier, I dried them with a paper towel because we don't want rotting leaves over here. Okay, so I've made sure that none of the moss is touching the leaves on either of them because we don't want that. We only want the moss touching the roots and a bit of stem. So they've all been dampened down with Clonex mist, as I do with all of them, and now they're going in the prop box, so bear with. This is my prop box. It's just a big storage box. I've made sure I've got a nice high one, so for any bigger leafed plants, it can accommodate them nicely. So we've got an Amadrea medium here. This is an Anthurium crystallanium blush, which isn't very happy. Honestly, I got a new leaf and then the new leaf rotted. The roots seem like they're doing better again, but it's just really hard. This is my Magnificum Anthurium, which is doing much better, and we can see this adorable new leaf. We've got a Mame stump here. This is an Epipremnum pinnatum variegata, which the leaf just isn't very happy, so I have just transferred it into some moss instead of water, which it was in, because the roots were doing nothing. And this is a Syngonium red spot, which has just given me this leaf and is just unfurling another. So that's exciting. This came with some pretty unhappy leaves, but nothing we can't improve upon. So now we're going to pop the Gloriosum in, so that can go there. There we go. Make sure it's not touching anything, which it isn't. And then we need something to pop the... that'll do. No. We need something to pop the other one on. We could put it on one of these. There you go. So then we want to put the Gigas on something to make sure that it doesn't hit the sides. There we go. So that means it's not touching the sides of anything and it's perfectly happy. There we are. Look at that. All happy babies except for you, because you're evil, and you because why don't you love me? But the rest of them doing pretty well. So now I'm going to pop the lid back on. I usually take the lid off for about an hour a day just to allow some airflow, and I also have these grow lights, sexy slippers, that shine directly into the box to make sure that they're all getting loads of light. It's next to the radiator, which I turn on every now and again to make sure the room's warm enough, but the room is generally kept about 20 degrees. So let's see how we get on, kids. Whee! We are, it's all set up. You can see the Gigas there and the Gloriosum there. The grow lights are beaming in, and here's my little window that I peek through on a daily basis to check up on them. And I say daily, more like hourly. But yeah, hopefully they'll do really well in there, and that's all we've got to do now. Now we've just got to wait.